Industrial piercings, also known as Helix to Helix Industrials. I'm going to tell you everything. We're going to go through basically everything that you should know before you get it done. Basically what I go through when somebody comes into my studio and says, hey, DaVo, I'd like an industrial piercing. Coming up next on Consultations by a Piercer, episode number 4. Hello and welcome. For those that are new to the body piercing and tattooing channel, I hope you're finding the videos informative and helpful, but you may not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. Before we get further into this, I just want to say this is being filmed on June 20th, 2022. This is the most up-to-date information that I have at this point. That may change in the years, so always consult a professional before getting this done. And most of the information I'm going to go through, they should voluntarily give you. So what this video is kind of the talk that I have every time somebody comes into my studio and says, DaVo, I want an industrial piercing. The thing about it, for those that don't know what it is, an industrial piercing or a scaffold piercing is sometimes called, traditionally is a helix to helix. The helix is that ridge that's on the outside of your ear. It is done straight through both sides and connected by one solid barbell. It is a difficult piercing to do, and it's a difficult piercing to heal correctly. So you really have to make a commitment, and you have to have the correct anatomy, and we're going to get into that. Awesome. Now, the basics on this is an average healing time of 6 to 9 months. However, this piercing can be difficult. It can be limited difficult, meaning that it can take sometimes over a year to heal, may go through grumpy phases long after it heals if it's just not just right. It is one of those piercings. It just never, you got to have that commitment and deal with it. During that healing period, we're going to suggest that you clean it twice daily using a sterile saline. I like Nelmed Piercing Aftercare or the wound wash. Cross-contamination prevention. Common sense stuff. Wash your hands before you handle it. No oral contact. No exchange of bodily fluids. Keeping your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with this piercing. Do not submerge piercing in bodies of water you cannot control the quality of, which is pretty much everything but your own clean bathtub. So what I'm telling you is no swimming until it's healed. Keep pets away from it. Do not let them sleep in the bed with you, especially those smaller animals like to sleep up by your face and steal your breath while you're sleeping. You know who you are. Avoid contact with unclean objects. Culprits with this one are going to be things like over-the-ear headphones, telephones, public phones, transistor radios you hold up to your ear. Does anybody even do that anymore? I'm sure there's some retro guy out there, some hipster doing it right now, just so we speak. Like boombox, giant boombox. Yeah. Anyway, you want to avoid contact with wet hair also. Now, isolating the piercing and avoiding trauma or pressure on this piercing is very important in the healing process. You really want to avoid, absolutely do not sleep on this piercing while it's healing. It may trick you and make you feel like, oh, it's fine now. It doesn't hurt to lay on it. The reality is a day or two later, it's going to flare up and be the worst problem child you've ever experienced in your entire existence. You can get away with using a travel pillow and then putting a clean sock on it, the neck pillows, and then sleeve your ear in the center of it so that it's isolated, so that you is around it. However, it is always best just to sleep on the other side. Once again, avoid tight headphones, other things, any helmets, hats, anything that's going to have pressure on it. Be cautious of if you have to wear a mask for the pandemic reasons or for work, that when you're removing it, it doesn't get caught. It's just one of those piercings that's right there. It's going to have contact. The other thing is you want to keep sunglass bows and glasses and etc. You want to disinfect them on a regular basis because they may come in contact with the piercing or the general area, and believe it or not, microorganisms like bacteria and etc. do move on the surface of the skin. It's kind of like their superhighway. Do not spin, rotate, move, play with. Have your friends Handle it. Don't mess with the piercing while it's healing. Leave it alone and isolate it. There's no benefit to spinning it. Now let's get into the anatomy part. The reason why I turn away probably 70% of the people that come in and ask for this. To get this piercing done and have it heal easily, the first thing is the helix needs to be wide enough or pronounced enough to support the piercing. The other thing is the flat area or the scapula of the ear needs to be either bowed downward or towards the head or flat. There needs to be enough room that we can do a straight line through those two helixes, and that jewelry is not against that tissue, and it's not adding pressure against that tissue or causing the helixes to flex outward. So it's really not something that everybody has. And I do turn away a lot of people over this. If that's the case, you might be a better candidate for a floating industrial, and we'll get into that one. That consultation and pros and cons is coming up in the near future. Now, here's a few other things that you want to consider beforehand. The biggest thing is this is a commitment. This is a piercing. It's not like getting your lobes done. You're going to be fine after about 2-3 months. This is a long-term commitment. This is the one. You're married to this piercing, or you're getting divorced from this piercing. You really need to take care of it. You need to be ready to make that commitment for it. It's not something I would suggest doing on a whim. Do your research beforehand. Another thing to consider is if you're going on vacation or you're going to be moving or in an environment that you can't control how clean it is, or access to medical care or sterile saline spray, I would advise waiting or postponing this until you're in a more stable situation or back from vacation. Next thing is, if you're involved with any type of organized activities that are going to require you to remove the jewelry to compete or perform, you can't take this jewelry out and put it in and out all the time. It is not going to work. You have to leave it in the whole time until it's healed. And even after that, if you take it out, it's possibly going to close, or the piercings will shift out of alignment. I already talked about it. Sleeping and isolating is something you really need to think about before you get this piercing done. Two final things on this. This is one of the most difficult piercings to heal. If you haven't gotten that idea already, let's repeat that. It is one of the hardest piercings to heal, especially on the ear. It is also one of the more painful piercings on the ear, if not the most painful. This goes through two piercings that are not traditionally very easy to get done. They can be a little ouchy. And then you add to that the fact you're doing one and then a second one in opposite directions, and the moving of the jewelry to get it in properly and everything else. This can be rather uncomfortable. I've had some clients that say that was fine, but take that into account. One thing I do need to mention before I finish is if you go to a piercer and they say we're going to do one with a ring or a barbell and the other one with another barbell, and you're going to heal them separately and they're going to magically be easy to fit back together, they don't know what they're talking about. It's a proven fact that piercings through cartilage in the ear, it's pretty easy for them to migrate. They will migrate out of alignment and etc. Also, another thing to think about is if the piercer is bending it to fit your ear, you may not have the right anatomy for this. And on top of that, you're going to have to go back to that person or find somebody that's going to bend a custom piece every single time for you. This is not something you can order online. It's not something you can kind of do at home. You're definitely going to have a professional change that jewelry and size it and bend it correctly. So that's all I have to say on Helix Industrial Piercings. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. If you did so, give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you liked it. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we post something. If you have something to add or you'd like to ask a question, please leave a comment. And if you like merch, you like swag, you like t-shirts, check out our merch store. A link is in the description. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video, possibly one of these.